r/AskReddit, people who have been walked in on during sex, what are your horror stories? I have 2 young kids. My wife and I thought that we had mastered the art of quick and quiet lovemaking. We'll put a movie on for them, go upstairs, lock the door, and get after it. Well, one time we forgot to lock the door. My wife was on top humping away, and I opened my eyes to see my son right next to our bed at eye level with me. He just said, "Daddy, can we have a snack?" He left the room as innocently as he entered, or at least I hope. It's also possible that we scarred him for life. Now we give them snacks first too.
They're going to have that unexpected revelation one day that every time they got snacks and a movie, you two were having sex.
This example of classic conditioning is known as Pavlov's doggy style.
Was in my BF's bedroom with the door shut. I thought it was locked. He was playing Metallica kinda loud to drown out any noises we might make, early 90s. His mom walked in to complain about the music and caught him halfway in the act of taking my virginity. She mumbled an apology and quickly turned and left the room, closing the door behind her. He wanted to continue, but I ended it for the day out of embarrassment. It was very awkward when we emerged from the bedroom a little while later for him to take me home. We completed the act a couple days later when we skipped school while no one was home.
Did she dub the Unforgiven?
Strangely enough, no. I was invited to every family event and welcomed over. She knocked on the door every time before entering after that day. She even told me years later she was very disappointed when we broke up and was hoping him and I would be together forever.
I think I was 18 to 19 when it happened. I was at my GF's house watching a movie on her laptop. We had a blanket covering us while cuddling, but we were actually stealthily banging. Suddenly her dad walks in and starts talking to us about dinner or something. We played it cool and stopped for a minute and don't think he noticed. Luckily he just walked back out after he was done talking, but holy shit, that was a close one.
Exact same thing has happened to me. Have had eye contact with my ex's dad while still being inside her under the blankets. Lol.
Power move.
No, a power move would be to continue whilst he was in the room without him knowing.
No, a power move would be to throw away the blanket and start humping while keeping the eye contact and then say you're next. Had sex with my then girlfriend. During the act I felt something strange on my ball sack, while I was on top of her. The room was relatively dark so I didn't see something. I thought it's her, that she is grabbing it, but then I realized that both her hands were on my arms. So something was doing something with my sack. And before I could even ask her anything I heard a loud wow. Her dog entered the room and licked parts of my body that shouldn't be licked by a dog.
One of my cats likes to pounce on my blanket when I'm masturbating because she thinks the blanket moving up and down means playtime. I gently nudge her out of the way.
Wrong pussy, huh?
Was having sex with my then girlfriend back in high school. Mom walked in to tell us that dinner is ready. Awkward, but she never interrupted us again.
You were already eating.
If you're ever caught in the act of having the sex, you should keep going. Don't stop. Because if you stop, you just got caught having sex and that's weird. If you keep going, the person that caught you is weird because they saw people having sex and kept watching.
That works on masturbation too, right?
That's what you do when the demons from across the room start watching you.
We were at his parents' house engaged in some early morning fun and his mom walked into the room to grab our laundry because she thought it would be a nice thing to do. We were just visiting. We were being really quiet, for obvious reasons, and it was like 5:30 in the morning and she assumed we were sleeping. We weren't under the blankets so she got an eyeful. She was definitely a lot more mortified than we were, although I was super embarrassed. My boyfriend just kind of laughed it off though, he was unfazed. When I went downstairs for coffee she just pretended like nothing happened so I did too. It was never spoken of between any of us and that's just how I liked it.
Went down on the ex-wife. Her kid came in wanting a sandwich, mind you it was late at night and thought the door was locked, and the next day he asked what we were doing and wanted to know all about our life.
A few years ago, my ex-GF was riding me at the couch right in the middle of her room. Suddenly her brother walks in and looks at us in shock. The problem was that we were fully naked, it was in the middle of the day and there was nothing like a blanket to cover up. Felt like you were presented for the whole world to see. He quickly apologized and left, but that was quite embarrassing.
How old were the three of you at the time?
Username checks out.
Younger sister walked in just as we were hitting our stride. She was old enough to understand exactly what was going on but had never actually seen it before. Couldn't keep her mouth shut. Oh my god. Luckily we were able to scramble and get some clothes on before Dad came bounding up the stairs. Needless to say I was kicked out immediately and never allowed in that house again.
Me and my GF, now wife, were in her bedroom, spooning under a blanket. Things got heavy and I slipped it in from behind. Just as I was about to arrive, her mum walks in with a basket of washing. She put her load away and so did I after she left. My GF nearly wet herself laughing. Apparently I have an excellent poker face.
When I was a teenager, my GF's mom walked in on me going down on her daughter. That was weird, but nothing was said, the mother just ran away horrified.
Mom ran away to wait her turn, least that's what happens in the videos I watch.
When I was in high school, my GF and I were messing around. Unbeknownst to us the door to the room wasn't locked. I had my face buried in her downstairs mix-up and in walks her dad. All I heard was him yelling something about you know what they're doing in there, and then 30 minutes later I sat next to him at dinner. Needless to say I wasn't all that hungry.
Of course you weren't hungry. You had just eaten out after all.
My mum walked in on me as a teenager with a particularly talkative female friend. Who owns this pussy? Mum bursts in dead-eye silence. It better not be you. I've never been able to fuck in my parents' house since.
Mom savage AF.
Looks mom dead in the eye. Ma, it be me. Bonus power move, maintain eye contact with mom while thrusting away. Edit, not thrusting mom, thrusting girlfriend.
Username checks out. There was a night earlier this year where me and my wife thought our kids were in a dead sleep because we waited a good hour after they went to bed to initiate anything. We start checking the rooms to make sure they were asleep, and they were. So we start going at it and I'm eating her out and the oldest son is standing at our doorway staring. My initial reaction was to jump up and head to the bathroom and play it off like I had to get up and use it. All I hear in the background from our 7-year-old is, "Why was daddy's head down by your pee-pee mommy?" To this day when it's bedtime he don't come out of his room. It's bad to the point we've found pee bottles on occasion. I think we might need to start therapy for him.
How old was the son? And I say just sit down and softly explain it to him.
Son, sometimes when you make love you gotta put your head down by the pee-pee. Girl I dated in high school was a Seventh-day Adventist, and therefore hyper-religious, and she lived with her aunt. Her grandma would regularly visit since her aunt had to work weekend a lot. Well, one day I had snuck over while her aunt was at work. We were fooling around in her room when we hear the door open and shut, followed by her grandma's voice booming through the house. Well, in classic style she shoved me into the closet half naked, slipped her PJs on and calmly walked into the other room. I silently waited for what seemed like an hour but was more likely like 2 minutes. She rushes back into her room and pulls me into the living room. Her grandma had stepped back outside to get something from the car. She told me to go out the back, but of all times the fucking door got stuck and her grandma was coming back into the house. Well, essentially she played keep away with her, hiding me behind the kitchen/living room divide, until she got a chance to lead me into the garage where she claimed she had dirty clothes washing. Her grandma seemed to believe her, but I quickly realized I didn't have my key/wallet or even fucking socks. Just my pants, shirt and jacket. Well, my ex had to go back into her room, quietly gather my things. Unfortunately she did not realize I forgot my socks too, so I went sockless, and stealthily delivered them to me. I heard her grandma asking suspicious questions but ignored them and went out the side door scot-free, or so I thought. Maybe 20 minutes down the road my ex texted me simply saying my grandma knew it was you here, cause apparently, even though she is old, she did recognize my car parked only one house down.
This was a ride read.
This was back in college. I was dating a woman who I typically saw on the weekends. My roommate, now one of my best friends, was out for whatever reason and my girlfriend was over. So naturally, things happened. Roommate is a socially awkward guy who is sometimes oblivious to even the strongest of hints. So before we got down to it, we put a sock on the door thinking that it should be enough. Roommate comes walking up the stairs, it was a college townhouse living situation, to our room, completely ignored the sock on the door, and walked right in as we scrambled to cover up. He took one look at us and froze in place, then we screamed for him to go. He ran down the stairs and out of the house literally screaming.
In high school, snuck into girlfriend's basement bedroom in the middle of the night to do things teenagers do. Hear the basement door open and her mom call down, "Who are you talking to?" I stealthily dive into her closet, buck-ass naked. Listen intently as mom progresses through the basement, opening each door and flicking on the lights, knowing what the final door leads to. Hear her footsteps approaching the door I'm behind. I'm sitting crisscross on the floor, boner raging like a grizzly, slowly trying to cover my Washington Monument with whatever random socks and tank tops I can find. "Go to bed," she says, turns around without opening the closet door, and goes back upstairs. She knew.
My first boyfriend in high school. It was a half day of school, so we went home to bump uglies. We were horny teenagers that figured out how parts fit together. We barely made it in the front door before we got buck naked on the floor. It was very loud. We had already memorized our favorite positions in a pocket Kama Sutra. We probably looked like we were porn stars on set. My mother had also come home early. We didn't hear the car, or the door unlock, or her standing there in complete shock. She was trying to get our attention, and it wasn't until we were about to change positions that we saw her. She told us to get dressed and that she needed to talk to both of us. She sat us down and very calmly asked us about our birth control. She told me she would make an appointment at the doctor to get me started on the pill. She gave us both hugs and "I love you, but you need to keep this in your bedroom." She then explained that it's disrespectful to the people you live with to put them in a situation like this as well. I think we went out to eat together afterwards or something, I don't really remember. This first boyfriend lasted through the better part of high school and we are still distant friends. My mother looks at him like a son she never had. He still remembers her to tell her Happy Mother's Day every year and her birthday. TLDR, it started horrible but ended up pretty good.